Hello. Welcome to Tuesday night, where sometimes we talk about music on the Tuesday Night Music Show. With Jay sitting there, hanging out.
What's up?
Okay.
Who, by the way, did not
Hey, Brian.
do what I asked him to do last night.
I did not. I had a lot of stuff today. I did not. Yeah, next week I'll make the cuts. I'll dye it.
Got to diet. You
I'll
got
do
to.
it.
Looking for the Keanu lines and the Grecian formulas.
Got to get the dark and then got to get the Keanu lines right there. I know.
Yeah.
I was looking at a picture today. I'm like, oh, I gotta. You guys either had a beard?
Yeah.
Okay. And the thing I don't like is I have a bad habit of doing. Let me just get a little more. Oh, damn it. Oh. And before you know it, you've shaved it off. I'm not good at I need to get like a piece of cardboard.
All you got to do is go zoop, zoop, and you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all.
And we have Howie.
One time I did it. I did the Movember thing for cancer or whatever it was. And that was it. I was like, this is a pain in the ass. I'm never doing this again.
Yeah.
I know why women lose their eyebrows and stuff, because they start just a little and then they can't stop themselves. I'm terrible doing shrubs too. Oh yeah. I started with an 8-foot shrub wall and I ended up with like 2 feet.
Yeah.
Like, it's still not even.
How you doing, Howie?
I'm doing really good. I watched our lead-in show, and the comments just made me very happy. We get a lot of really nice people.
Hopefully, we'll get nice people tonight. Hopefully, we do something tonight that they actually like.
Yeah.
Alex the Bubble put a link in the chat. Did you see it?
Yes, I did. Mm-hmm.
Do you know who that guy is?
Yeah, I saw your comment. I was like, oh my gosh, like he got in some sort of trouble.
Right. Yeah. Well, that was, it was DJ Mag put up a video recently. I mean, like a couple weeks ago, and Alex shared it. And it's basically a video that was floating around in I think the late 80s, called Cameron Paul Tells All. Mm-hmm. It's the DJ Cameron Paul, who was a San Francisco guy. He was kind of
the guy with the mustache. He was doing like a class thing, or?
Yeah, that's Cameron Paul.
Yeah, I've seen that.
I love Cameron Paul. I love his mixes. I don't know if you're familiar with him or not, but
a little bit, because I've seen that video.
I wish I could play on the show, but
we'll get flagged.
There's a track by a band or an electronic act from Germany. I believe they're from Germany, called CCCP, which is a Russian,
Yes. I was going to say CCCP sounds familiar.
Right, but the track is called American Soviets. And it's from I think 85, 86.
Yep.
And it's a club staple. Like it really is. But then Cameron Paul does a remix of it in like 88. Oh my gosh, it's a different track and it's relevant. And I played the Cameron Paul remix of American Soviets probably through the mid 90s as like a relevant club track.
Wow.
And it's really good. After the show, I would love to kind of give you a before and after of that song.
Housey or dancey?
After you,
Housey or dancey? Like, Housey is like a house track versus a dance track being like a pop
Jay,
song.
it would almost fit into your dark wave set.
Oh.
It's like a dancey track, but it's kind of dark. It's cool. And what I'd love to do after the show is just show you what it sounds like, the original versus the Cameron Paul treatment. It's impressive. This is a guy that I always really admired. And I think it was late 1990. Long story short, I ended up in San Francisco one night with my cousin, and she took me to the Palladium in Chinatown, downtown, and Cameron Paul was the DJ. I didn't really understand what that meant at the time. I'm like, okay. And then I got home, wait a minute, he's the guy on my records. That was the guy? So, yeah, really. If you get a chance, check out Cameron Paul. He did some amazing remixes of other artists' tracks, did some of his own stuff. Big time DJ. He got in trouble for a payola thing. I don't know, the early 90s, sometime after I saw him. And he passed away a couple of years ago. He had been working as a veterinarian assistant in Tulsa, Oklahoma for the better part of 25 years.
Wow.
Was he DJing it all at the end or no?
Huh?
Walked away?
He has walked away from it, moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and became a veterinary assistant.
Wow.
And this guy was a rock star. DJs weren't like a thing then, and remixers weren't a thing then. But if they were, this would have been Calvin Harris.
Wow.
This would have been Zed or just somebody huge, or it would have been Fatboy Slim or something like that. The guy was just that good. So if you don't know
awesome.
who Cameron Paul is, I urge you guys to look him up and check
look it up.
I'm looking forward to the after party.
Yeah, I'd like to
play
to
that.
turn you guys on to some of his work because it's really
awesome.
good. It's really
Maybe
good.
he got too old. Maybe he just walked away.
Well, he died of cancer.
I mean, from DJing. He aged
probably.
No, he said he got caught up in the payola thing and he
That too.
couldn't get work. So
Jay's poking the badger. We've had a bit of a disagreement on this. And I'm standing my ground on it. Jay's standing his ground. It's an unmovable force meets an unmovable force. I don't even know what's worth talking about.
It's not.
it's not.
Not.
Skip.
Yep.
Yeah, no, he got the DJ Times thing was, I think, where I first heard of him, and I did a little deep dive on him. He had some great material.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like you say, had it been today, he would have been huge.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he was all over Clubland. And the cool thing about it was
remixes.
You heard him in house clubs, you heard him in hip hop clubs, you heard him in freestyle clubs. He wasn't like this pigeonholed guy for dance music. He was all over the place.
He seemed really intelligent about it. There's a video of him. I think it's like what we would call like the old guitar licks, where they would take famous guitar players.
That's the video I was talking about. Cameron Paul Tells All. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's great the way he explains things, how depth of knowledge he had as far as music is concerned.
Yeah. He knew his stuff. He was innovative. He produced a lot of artists and a lot of tracks. And
he didn't look like it though.
Well, he
had that 80s kind of like bit of a mullet with the mustache and the like silky kind of vibe. Yeah.
Oh yeah. He was very 1985.
He was shopping at Tello's.
He was very 1985.
Yeah.
But he was so good.
When Oak Tree was closed, he would roll over to Tello's.
Yeah. I mean, you think of the song Diamond Girl by Nice and Wild and you picture his face.
Yeah. Totally.
And an IROC Camaro,
Yep.
So.
And when he gets in, one more button gets undone. Gotta let that chest hair dry off.
He's wearing a brooch, they had those. Yeah.
Middle of the day.
Polo.
What are you doing with a bolo?
Polos. Yeah.
Yeah. Why you got a bolo tie on? It's 2 in the afternoon.
My joint, man. It's my joint.
This is my fly walk-a-wear. Oh, okay.
It is.
Okay. I got you.
The man probably lived in Z Cavs, but yeah.
Oh yeah.
No, don't let the looks deceive you. The dude is good. The dude was solid.
He was super good.
Solid.
Super good.
Just a DJ. Just one of us.
I don't think we know our history the way we should.
Well, you're the one that said there's so much music out there, we're never going to get to hear it all.
And how unfortunate it is that there's so much good music out there. I think that's very sad that there's all this good music out there. It's depressing.
We talked about this at the end of the year, our last show, which should air sometime around July 4th.
Arbor Day.
About every show bringing up something. So maybe this is the start of the new year. Maybe Cameron Paul is our first artist or first reference, and then next week we do another. And because we could rattle off 20 names of people that most DJs that I know, if they're not into that club scene, house scene, aren't aware of.
Well, and Cameron was actually very mainstream, but
yeah, I mean, that's the way I knew him.
Yeah, but if you asked 100 DJs at a Mobile Beat or DJ Expo, how many of them do you think know who Cameron Paul is?
The old guys would know.
You have a point there. Yeah.
Yeah. Or David Mancuso.
The old guys would know.
I mean,
right, they would.
No, you would have to know David Mancuso.
I mean, I'm thinking,
I think you'd be surprised.
You'd be
surprised.
The dirty secret is I turned Jay on to David Mancuso.
No, he did. And I ended up watching a big documentary on him. And then because I'd just gotten into Larry Levan. And I'd gotten a Larry Levan remix with Inner Life and Jocelyn Brown doing Ain't No Mountain High Enough. And I played it like probably 2010, 11 on New Year's Eve at the gay hotel where I did the New Year's Eve parties in San Diego, and the room erupted. And it was after that I talked to Brian. He's like, "Oh, David Mancuso." I'm like, "Who?" And I didn't know who he was. The name didn't ring a bell with me.
I have the unfair advantage.
You were there.
I worked in New York,
Yeah,
so
you were downtown
everybody
too.
knew.
Yeah, where the loft
his name
was.
his name was all over. So,
Well, Jay was asking about some stuff, and I loaned him a book that I never saw again called "Last Night a DJ Saved My Life," the story of the DJ.
It's always close to my heart, Brian. Just so you know, it's being well cared for.
Should have signed that thing.
It's in the same shape. Someday you'll get it back in the same shape.
Yeah, I'll hold my breath.
You know what? I'll tell you what. I'll make a deal with you. When I do return it, I'll give you my copy of Adventures in Clubland.
Okay, but
You familiar with this read?
no, I'm not.
that's a good.
This goes back to England, and to show you how insanely old this is, here is a picture. I think that's definitely Larry Levan.
Right.
And I believe there is a very young. Up here, the blurry photo where my finger is. That's Paul Oakenfold.
Oh, geez.
Oh yeah, this is like Hacienda days.
Wow.
Oh yeah, no, this is a good read too, and it's
So tell us more about it, Jason. Since we're on the music show, recommend this book to others.
Adventures in Wonderland. It's a decade of club culture, and it goes back, and it's really that kind of
So
late.
what is it, 80 to 90 kind of thing?
More like mid 80 to mid 90,
Okay.
like kind of where New York started coming up, the warehouse days. It kind of really covers all of that stuff. It's sort of like starts with the Frankie Knuckles with Larry Levan as a friend in New York, and then pre
That was early
Frankie
70s.
Does it cover the club kids thing? Remember
Not
the
really.
Club kids?
Not really. Not
You know,
not
in
those
there
ones.
was a
Not the
murder or
the
something.
weird ones. No, it's really more of the DJ perspective.
Right. The DJ perspective
okay.
stuff is the stuff I like too. And that's what the book I loaned you was all about too.
Yeah, which starts with like the French
The
discos.
shakers. It goes back to like the shakers and stuff. Just weird. Like
Yeah.
there was a shaker thing going on in Waukesha here. I mean, that was a thing. And they talk about storytellers and
You look at how much culture changes. I used to do tea parties on Sundays, which back in Boston, when I was living there, everyone knew about Provincetown, which is a huge gay mecca, and they
Right.
would have Sunday tea parties or tea dances.
okay.
And tea dances would run like noon to 4, 1 to 4, 1 to 3, somewhere in the afternoon. It would really be more for people that had a great time Saturday night, go out the next day, have a little food, dance and party, and then get home early enough to get a good night's sleep on Sunday.
That's cool.
Oh, I like
So
that.
it became like a staple
Yeah.
in the gay community of clubs where I knew. And I talked to one of my clients. I had 2 grooms last year, and I remember saying to them something about, sort of like a tea dance. They're like, what? I'm like, a tea dance on like Sundays. They're like, I've never heard of that. I'm like, they don't do that anymore? And they're on their phones looking it up, and they're looking at each other like, how did we not know about this? They're like, why does the straight DJ know more about the gay community than we do? We're gay.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Right.
but if you're not into that club scene,
Sure.
Hex Hector, I said to him, like, oh, do some Hex Hector remixes. And they again. And I'm like, we'll just do some new stuff. Everybody's different on it. This is more for where DJs kind of came from and where, not the origins of music as much as the origins of how a DJ would find his way through that 80s, 90s period.
No, when I loaned you that book, I did it because I really felt like that the perspective would be helpful for you. And was I right?
Yes. Yeah. But I like knowing the history.
How do you?
I like knowing about Robert Johnson. I don't like and years and years and years ago, I read a great article where Robin Trower, the guitar player, said, if you want to learn how to play guitar, don't listen to me.
Right.
Listen to what I listen to. Find out who I like. Go listen to Chuck Berry and Howlin' Wolf and Sonny Boy Williams and,
And
Robert,
for the audience's perspective, Robin Trower was the guitar player for Procol Harum.
Yes. And he went on to have his biggest hit's got to be Bridge of Sighs.
Did his
Bridge
own
of
thing.
Sighs.
He was not a Hendrix player, but yet sounded much in that same vein. So people were accusatory, like, oh, he thinks he's Jimi Hendrix. It's like, no, he's
just
totally
really
different,
good.
but he just had a sound.
Yeah.
Well, beyond just kind of knowing, the history, which is always nice. How have you been able to implement or perhaps be inspired by what you read.
I think the inspiration comes from the fact that it makes you slow down. And what I mean is it makes you think deeper about the music, because you read things like you take for granted right now that I can get on my computer and I can pretty much find any song I want,
Right.
any generation,
Sure.
any period, any remix. Let me get a mashup of it. Let me just download an instrumental of it. This was a time when you only had one format and you had to make that work.
Yeah.
And, you know, the days of DJs even realizing, well, what if I have two records and I go back and forth and I can extend the song out? And the Francois K days of like, I'll remix it by making it longer, or I'll add this, and then I'll go back to that.
Are you making what am I thinking? Stonewall references on me here?
Francois K, no, that's mid 70s New York. I don't think he was Stonewall.
I think he might have been.
You don't know Francois K? I know you know Francois K.
Well, I'm just saying, I think that he...
Francois K was Jelly Bean Benitez, period. Like, after this, Jimmy will tell you. Yeah, Francois K was like one of the first remixers.
What I was getting at, I guess, is that, I don't know. I think the perspective is interesting, too. And that's why I like it. I was thinking about, you know, if you wanted to extend an intro to a song, you had to loop it. And to loop it, you need two copies of something, and to make a transition from one song to the next song that you were looping, you needed a third deck to do this.
Right.
And that was like you're juggling three tracks and trying to keep the beat right. That's hard. It's not impossible. You can do it. It's not, you know, voodoo or supernatural. It just takes a lot of practice and a lot of just concentration on what you're doing.
Right.
And I remember when I first got Serato, the first thing I thought to myself is, I don't need two copies of anything anymore.
Right.
Because I can just drag and drop the same copy in deck one and deck two and make a loop.
Yeah.
That's
or
amazing.
then you hit a button and it just makes the loop.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. I mean, you know, the next version of it, whatever, I guess, like, what is this in out loop button? Oh my God.
Yeah.
All you have to do is hit this button to make it happen. And you can make it 1 bar, 2 bars, 4 bars, 8 bars, 16. You can do whatever you want.
Whatever you want.
This is magical.
I've worked with DJs with Rekordbox, and I won't name names because they're well-known DJs. And they're looking at me and I'm trying to explain, you know, the setups on everything, and like, what's the cue button? What's this all about? These are never played on CDJ vinyl guys.
Right.
Like, what am I doing with this? I'm like, you know, where you're setting your hot cue. Like, and they didn't get it because it was not in the realm of what they did as DJs.
Okay.
They were record players.
Sure.
They only played vinyl. And it was like, wait a second, I can set this up ahead of time? Because then you see their creative juices start flowing, and they were like, oh, I would totally do this. And I don't know if you guys remember, you know, people play a track now with hot cues on it. You can have like 8, 16 cues, you know, you can go to town, memory points, you can go ballistic. When I first got my CDJs, they had 3 hot cue buttons that I could set on 3 different songs. So I could sit here and hit hot cue A, track starts here, then hit B, it was a different song in a different section, and then C, another song, another section. So I would set like an intro for a wedding with 3 tracks. I'd just be ABC. And then all of a sudden I get the new CDJs as we move forward, and it's like, why isn't it going to a different track? Oh, no, it's all on the same track. I'm like, well, that sucks. They're like, why? Don't you want multiple hot cues on the same song? I'm like, no, I could create those on the fly, couldn't I? I'd rather be able to go to different songs. I think this is cool. So you can sit there and keep hitting hot cue B and have it just be a sample.
Right.
But that's the gear I started on, so that's what I had to learn with.
Oh, sampling was another one that I mean, oh my gosh. I think I would have been dangerous if I would have gotten my hands on like a 16-bit sampler in the late 80s, early 90s that I could bring with me to my events, I think I would have been dangerous. I mean, I had the...
Look at the DJs that... Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I remember I had the little Casio thing where you could put a sample in it and play it on the keyboard, and that was fascinating, but it really wasn't anything I'd use at a gig. And then, you know, my friend, my who was my friend, had a Fairlight series too, and, you know, the CMI, and which is all over the Cameron Paul stuff, by the way. And I'm curious, did he have a CMI? Because this is neat stuff. But that's the sounds that you heard in like all the Tears for Fears songs, like Shout. That's all Fairlight CMI. That's every sound you hear in Yes's Owner of a Lonely Heart.
Peter Gabriel used it a lot.
Peter Gabriel used it a lot. Yes, absolutely. In Your Eyes and that kind of stuff. And and Art of Noise Beatbox. ZZ Top used it on the Afterburner album.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Pet Shop Boys used it. Well, actually, I don't know that the Pet Shop Boys used it, but Bobby Orlando used it when he did the original 1984 version of West End Girls. And EMI left it in when they did their rendition of it, which, by the way, I think was brilliant. I love what EMI did with that track. Regardless, I'm geeking out. But, I mean, that was like a giant thing. And it was too valuable to bring out to gigs to just trigger something.
Right.
I just had a cool little... And it was 8-bit. But it would have been really cool to have something I could just record on and drive. Oh, God, I would have been dangerous. I'd have just been an idiot with that thing. I know I would have been if I had that tech. And now everyone has it. And they may not even realize they have it, but it's there.
Have you ever messed with the RMX 1000 or the EFX 500?
No.
Pioneer mix?
No.
The EFX 500 was big. Like, it's huge with certain DJs along the way. And then it got upgraded. But then we came out with the RMX 1000, and it had different knobs as well as build-up and breakdown effects, as well as a sampler that you could do as a drum sample, so you could have a clap. So you could tap a clap on beat, quantized, and it would stick.
Right.
So if you're playing a track, you could suddenly have a clap come in whenever you wanted, or a kick, hi-hat, whatever. But one of the things it had was the ability to kill different frequencies. So you look at me and say, well, Jay would never use this to any great talent. I used it for like a solid summer where I was using a 700 that had send return. I don't think I played one song straight. I think every song I played, I would start chopping like the mids out. And I would start giving a roll to the low. And I just had because people would come up inevitably on my T-Dance and different party sets, be like, man, what version was that? I'm like, oh, that's just the regular version. Really? But I've never heard it do that stutter thing.
Right.
I'm like, oh, that was just me. I turned this knob and I did this. And I'm not the creative guy. So when you look
You are the creative guy. What are you talking about?
But I don't think of it in musically that way until I got it in front of me. But this is the thing about music. When you read the old books about where things came from, it's almost like saying, you know, take a caveman and put him in today's society. What would he think?
Right.
Because the technology has expanded so far, so fast. And things have gotten so crazy now with technology. I mean, there's a great documentary on Martin Garrix, how he went from a mobile DJ and started doing his own tracks to 2 years later headlining at Ultra. And it's like, wait, what just happened?
Right.
Like, that's how quickly things can change in that realm. Avicii had the same sort of, you know, break. These things just change very quickly because music is so accessible.
Right.
If I could circle back to the Tea Party thing.
Yeah.
I had my experience with that because, you know,
$20 is $20.
I did the you know, Max's Kansas City, but that was nighttime. But I would go in the city early, and I would go into Washington Square Park, and there would be a whole group of guys, and they might only own 1200 each, but there might be 3 or 4 of them on the table.
Right.
And they would set these up, and I would be in awe. My jaw would be open. I'm like, my God, these guys are really talented, doing really different stuff. And then I'm like, oh shit, I got to go, time to set up, but that was, to me, was amazing. These guys were like taking consumer grade stuff and killing it in the park. And they had a huge crowd around them, and it was mesmerizing.
You know who did that? I saw it. I was a part of it. Was it the very first practice in Enjoy? We did that. It was Rich Martinez, Al Martin, and what was that cat's name? His name was Brian. I can't remember his last name, but he was like this big DJ in Milwaukee for a long time. And then I was on the other deck. I was like the guy who shouldn't have been up there, but they were throwing stuff to each other. It was so cool. We were finishing each other's sentences.
Yes.
We each had 2 decks.
Wow.
And one guy had like a video rig, and one guy had 1200s, and one guy had, like a Denon 4500 or 4000 or whatever it was. We were just throwing it back and forth. It was so much fun. It was like tag team DJing.
I was mesmerized, honest to God. I was
it was cool.
Ooh.
I know Howie is.
My thoughts at the time were, I don't think I could ever learn to do that. I'm going to do what I do best and do lights and sound.
You could do it. You could do it. You could figure it out.
But
it's
time,
the passion.
I was mesmerized.
You see the passion from the old days, and I'm old enough to remember when things were different and things were not. You didn't have access to everything that you have now, and I think we take for granted that. There's a great documentary. It's on YouTube. I believe it's called like New York 77. And it's the summer of 77. So you have Son of Sam, you have the blackout, you have all this craziness.
Yep.
Well, in the middle of it, you have DJs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like the early African Bambaataa battles in the park. And these guys would have to get as many extension cords as they could find.
Yeah.
As they could, yeah.
Hook them up illegally into a light post.
Yeah, you'd take the bottom piece off with the special, security screwdriver and tap into the power.
That was the South Bronx thing they were doing.
But you look at that, and I'm almost envious. Like, man, like you got up that morning and said, I got this piece of vinyl, and I'm going to rock the world with it. I wish I'd been around for that period, because I get excited to do a gig, but I'm not very often excited to the level of like, I have something like those New Year's Eve parties. I used to download music for those that I'd be like, oh, I cannot wait to drop this. People are going to go nuts. And I got a little taste of it. But the work that people had to put in, carrying, I mean, my first amp was a Precedent AB900. That thing weighed like 18,000 pounds. It was like me and a small kid trying to carry it. Then you get 2 PV 15-inch Black Widows with the horns on top. I mean, it was a work. You had to earn your pay those days.
They called them, I think it was the Jamaican sound system. It was something they were using over there, and then they brought it here. And
when you said Black Widows, I was like, oh my God. Everybody was replacing the 15s with Black Widows.
Oh yeah, because they sounded so good.
Yeah.
They were so heavy.
They were heavy.
Oh my God, were they heavy?
The funny story I heard was when Malcolm McLaren, he was in Manhattan for something, and somebody was telling him about this hip hop movement that was going on. And he's like, well, I got to see this. So he gets in his limousine, and goes to South Bronx. And they're doing this thing you're talking about. They're in the park. It's like Cool Herc or Flash or somebody's doing a thing.
Right.
And they pull up, and it's like, it's rough. They're starting to come up to the car, and he's like, get me the hell out of here. So you just get out of there. But from that, the guy was inspired to do Buffalo Gals.
Right.
Just from that, like pulling up and checking it out and then buzzing off.
Wow.
I'd love to go to Ibiza someday, or Ibiza, or whoever's going to correct my pronunciation on it. I would love to go to Ibiza at some point. Yeah, Ibiza or Ibiza.
Hey,
but
Jay,
I would much rather be able, if I had to go to a club.
Jay, don't take the pill
I'm not.
in Isaiah. No, don't take it. No.
No, that dork from American Idol. His only hit. Yeah, I said it. Poser. Yeah, exactly. It's pronounced poser. Yeah, whatever.
Don't worry, we can edit
But
it out.
I would much rather be able to go to a loft night or a garage night. I mean, and Howie, this is not, I've said this way before you disclosed your former career. I have said it before, I'll say it again. The greatest name of a nightclub ever, to me, is Max's Kansas City.
I know it.
The stories I heard before you.
God.
It just like I said, I told you guys about a group last week. Brian, I don't know if you were here. King's X. If you don't know them, look them up. And their album after Out of a Silent Planet is the greatest album title ever. Gretchen Goes to Nebraska. I mean, there you go. Wow. What's the name of the album, guys? Gretchen Goes to Nebraska.
How can you forget that?
Yeah. That's my point. Came out in like 79, 80. I still remember it because it's like, what's the album title? Gretchen Goes to Nebraska. Got it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think what people mistaken sometimes is when we reminisce about old music and old days, they view it as, oh, boomers talking about the old days. It was so much better. It's not a comparative point to today.
No.
The issue was there was a desire and a passion and a level of love that music was delivered to you in small doses on not a steady diet. So when you received it, you ate it with enjoyment. You loved it. You listened to it like you couldn't tear yourself away if there was a fire.
Yeah.
Today, I can rip through Billboard's charts and judge all of this artistic work in a blink of an eye.
You know, you make a good point there.
Back then.
You know, we could go to a fast food restaurant and be out of there in 10 minutes, or we could be at a nice restaurant and have a 4-hour meal and really savor
Music
it.
was a meal. That's a great comparison. Great analogy, great metaphor.
That.
Music was a meal, and you enjoyed it.
And it's the difference between saying, you know what, I want this, but I want it with this on the side, and I don't want it with the artichoke. I want it with something else instead. No, you go into the restaurant, and you say things like, you know what, let the chef just cook something cool for me.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
I had a guy who was a road manager for Bad Company. I think I've told this. Beggar's Banquet, Harvard Square. This would have been 1979, 1980. And they sold used records. And when I found them, I'm like...
I thought it was Harvard.
Harvard, yeah.
Harvard.
Drop all the I's. And I would walk in there, and the first time I found out about it, like, hey, have you been to Beggar's Banquet? I'm like, no. Oh, they sell used records. I'm like, wait, what? I don't have to pay $19? Where is this place? Went there, and I went up to the counter. I'll never forget. I walk up to the counter, and I had, like, Kiss Destroyer... or no, Kiss Love Gun, because I'd already gotten Destroyer. So I had Kiss Love Gun... like Ted Nugent, Cat Scratch Fever, and something else. And the guy behind the counter looks at me and goes, you like this stuff? I said, yeah, it's great. Why? I was like 15. He's like...
challenging the kid.
He goes, what do you like about it? I said, I play guitar. I like the guitar. He goes, oh, you like guitar? All right, I'll tell you what. I'll make a deal with you. I'll replace these albums with 3 other albums. You take them, same price. If you don't like them, you come back tomorrow, and I'll give you these albums. Okay. He gave me Derek and the Dominoes Anthology.
Ooh.
The Yardbirds, Greatest Hits.
Ooh.
And Sun Seals, Live and Burning in Chicago.
Wow.
And I went home, and I don't want to offend anybody on this, but the only thing I can akin the feeling to when I dropped the needle on all this music was the first time I saw a Playboy magazine. It was that same sensation of,
ooh,
Yardbirds. I'm like, wait a second. They're covering Aerosmith with Train Kept a Rolling? What is this? And then I turn it over and I go, who are these guitar players? Are these unknowns? Eric Clapton, Jimmy Page, Jeff Beck.
Jeff Beck, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Shape of Things to Come. Like, oh my God. Next day, go back in, had gotten like $5 from mowing a lawn. Walk in, I'm like, what else you got? And then you got me Jeff Beck Truth or something. I'm like, shoot home, drop the needle, because we've ended as lovers. And I'm like, my life is different now. Yeah, Bobby. I don't even know his last name, but he told me he was a former tour manager for Bad Company. And even then, he didn't turn me on to like, because I'm like, oh yeah, I've got Desolation Angels, which was the newest like rock and roll fantasy Bad Company. He goes, yeah, but do you have Bad Company? I'm like, no. Oh, here, no, you got to get this and Seagull. I'm like, really? What's that? Like, that's the way music was delivered to me. There was nowhere else to go. Well, I could read Rolling Stone. I could read Circus, Hit Parade, Cream. But you got to understand from a music lover's standpoint, the thing we loved the most was almost elusive. You had to search it out.
Well,
if you know,
to bring it back, I mean, I know exactly what you're saying. It's a matter of accessibility, and it's a matter of distractions or lack thereof. So if you think about, you know, somebody who's, you know, even 30 now, what do they got? They got all this stuff on the internet to look at. They've got video games. They've got social media. There's all these things to distract them. When we were young, there wasn't a lot.
No.
Or TV channels, and usually it was soap operas or the news or some bullshit golf going on a Saturday. So what do you?
But it made it better because you had to find things and you put in the effort
and entertain yourself with something.
I grew. I mean,
it was always music. You know,
I would drive 20 miles to a record store when I ended up getting my license. There was a place that sold a lot of metal albums, and I'm like, they had a lot of imports. I would end up driving like 20 miles and felt like I was king of the friggin' world because I'd come home with like the import version of something and I didn't know anyone that had it, but I heard it on like a 2 a.m. radio show that I had to like wake up for, and the guy's playing only Euro stuff, and I'm like, wait, what is this? I've never heard of Iron Maiden before. Who are these people?
You needed a big brother growing up. You just missed
I didn't have that though, Brian.
And you needed it.
No, I didn't. So that's the thing. So I had to do that journey.
But
like I've said, the memories that'll go to the grave with me, sitting on Pilgrim Road in Belmont, putting on the headphones in a dark room, reaching over, lifting the dust cover of a one-piece, I don't even remember the manufacturer, but it was receiver. The bottom was like the brown covered with the speaker and then the turntable, and dropping the needle on Carry On the Wayward Son in the pitch black of my room and hearing it when there's no other sensation in the room, no sight, no taste, no smell, and everything is focused on the
all I need
auditory.
is the air that I breathe and to love you.
And it's just, you sit there and you feel your head just go somewhere, and you're like,
I love that.
Wow. Music is as strong as any drug. It's as strong as love and hate.
Yeah.
And it won't destroy me along the way. It won't turn on me. It won't defriend me.
I have a prediction. John's going to call this show Old Men Reminisce About Old Stuff.
You know, great. Oh, so you're set the tone with your damn video now.
To bring it back around, I did want to just point this out.
Okay.
Like I had said earlier, and I think it kind of, we said it in a way where we just kind of like, you know, passed over. Yeah, it makes a difference, the distractions that you have and the options that you have. The fewer options you have, you're going to find something and you're going to go with it. So I have to exercise empathy with newer DJs, with younger DJs who have these distractions, yet they still choose DJing.
Right.
That's pretty cool. They could be doing a lot of things.
It is.
I've got a nephew, you know, and of course I've known his whole life, and I know the kind of kid he is. And he had quite a few options growing up. He could have done a lot of things. His mother and father are avid hot rodders, my sister and my brother-in-law. That did rub off on him, and he's decided to do that, and he's done that, and he's built some insane stuff, and he works professionally in the automotive industry, and he's got the funds to do what he wants to do, and he does exactly what he wants to do, and he knows what he's doing. He could have just been some video game kid, because I mean, my sister's affluent. This kid could have done anything. He chose to go that route. That's cool. That's cool. He decided that he wanted to pay attention. He took an interest and he did it. I like that. It more choices, but still shows something cool, you know. And it's the same thing with DJing.
Yeah,
there's a lot of things you could be doing out there. There's videos you could be doing, stupid YouTube videos, seeing how many peas you can stick up your nose and probably, you know, make quite a bit of money monetizing that kind of crap.
Make a note.
What you decide to DJ. You decide to do
thing.
that.
Hold on, I got to make a note about this one. Peas and
up your nose. How many peas can you get up your nose?
And they have to be frozen ones.
Before you
sneeze. It's all for the views.
Before you sneeze or have to go to the doctor.
Well, you know,
monetized by Del Monte.
Sponsors. That's what I need. Sponsors.
Green Giant.
Thank you, John. That was good.
I think you need to sometimes, as we've often said, you need to learn the history. If not, and it's not an issue of if you don't know it, you're destined to, repeat it. It's more a matter of it just gives you a perspective. I think one of the great compliments of my life as an artist DJ oftentimes don't come to me after a full dance floor at a wedding. They come to me by the random guy or gal that comes up to me and says, this Thelonious Monk? I'm like, yeah. Oh, man. I remember seeing him and I did a New Year's Eve where a guy came up and he gave me $20, no joke intended, Howie, but literally at the New Year's Eve, comes up and he goes, this is for you. I'm like, oh, thank you so much. He goes, I haven't had a night like this. And this is like 10 o'clock on a night that's going till 1:30 in the morning. He goes, you are flooding me with memories of the Loft and the Paradise Garage. And I'm like, you were at Paradise Garage?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, we would see Larry every week. Now, this is a guy at the time. This has got to be 2010, 11, 12 in San Diego. And he's like, oh, the club scene back then, if this is what you love, you would have loved it. And I almost wanted to hit stop and go, all right, everyone go to the bar. I just want to talk to this guy for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But that's, and that's where the excitement comes in. And it translates, I think, for DJs watching this who don't get what we're saying, I'll give you what it translates down to that you'll understand. When you go to a DJ show and you walk through the hallway and you overhear a conversation or you get in a conversation and you get that hallway info and knowledge and you walk away with a nugget, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
That was life with music back then.
And it still is.
It still is. I still get excited. I mean, DJ John C., my boy in Boston, sent me a little something. I don't know what's on it, but I'm excited because now I have new something. I have new music that I get to listen to. I have new music that I get to enjoy. And it's got to keep going forward. Don't ever get stuck in music. Don't ever stop. Mm-hmm. Don't ever say, oh, that's enough. I've got what I need. I get so upset when I hear DJs go, oh, I got 2,000 files. I kill it at weddings. You probably do. And you're delivering a McDonald's hamburger. And you know what? If that's all they accept and want, that's cool. But you know what? There's a lot better cuts out there. Don't make yourself McDonald's when you can be Wagyu tomahawks.
I thought he was going to say ragu, spaghetti sauce.
And this makes no friggin' sense considering I don't eat either of those. So
yeah.
Don't make yourself iceberg when you could be romaine.
Yeah. Just go eat your lawn. You'll feel better.
It's better for you than iceberg.
Romaine is. The darker the green, the higher the vitamin level.
Yeah. Yep.
Nice. It's good to know. No, I'm excited to turn you guys on to the Cameron Paul stuff.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be good, and we're gonna try to do this every week now. We're gonna give you at least one artist a week, even if I have to do the back work. I'm fine with it. We're gonna give you at least one artist, one name every show we do for the rest of 2022 that you can then go back to and say, "Ooh, I didn't know about this."
He was a friend. Let me share something with you. You go ahead, fill time for like 30 seconds. I'll be right back. I got
a long time to talk, Brian. I don't know if I really have anything I could come up with.
I don't think you could fill 30 seconds, Jay.
30 seconds.
God, 30 seconds.
Man. So were you in the city when Estonia Hotel was like the big thing? Or Ansonia?
Yeah.
Were you there like the bathhouse days or Plato's days? Or after?
No, after. I was way
After
too young.
both?
But I remember reading about it in Playboy.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's like that's the Bette
like-
Midler, Barry Manilow,
But it creeped
and
me out.
Frankie Knuckles. Frankie Knuckles DJ'd there.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and Bette Midler played there.
And Barry Manilow was her
Manilow
pianist.
was her pianist. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I remember hearing about, I was old enough. I mean, I was 13, 14 when Plato's was running around. And I just remember being like, you got to be kidding me. And then by the time they got closed, I'm old enough to go, but didn't go because I was in Boston. And it's like, I really don't want to go. But there was a certain...
Yeah, see, I missed a lot.
We didn't have the internet, everybody. Don't judge. Don't start judging.
No, well, I missed, I said this before, I missed
Times
a lot
Square was not a good place.
Working
When I see
7 nights a week, so I didn't get to, and I was at
you didn't have time.
Yeah,
when I see these people with Times Square for the ball drop and everything's clean in Disney, I'm like, dude, 25 years ago, you couldn't stand there.
So what I have here in my hand,
I like
these
the T-shirt.
are DJ-specific tools that Cameron Paul produced. These aren't tracks.
Kidding.
These are DJ tools. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Just set this down. And I know I have more.
Don't you just love it? Like you bring up a random artist and he goes, "Oh, I'll be right back."
I'll be right back.
Albums.
So this is a series that he did called Cameron Paul's Loops. And I've got, I think, volume 1 through 10. 10 classic funky beats, bass lines, and music to rap and mix with. So these are DJ tools here. I got a bunch of these.
Wow.
And then they go in colors and stuff. All courtesy of the late, great Mike Guy.
Oh, this was part of his collection?
Well, most of it was. Some of it I had already. Oh, here we go. Cameron Paul's Beats and Pieces, kind of more of the same kind of stuff. But these were things that DJs had. And this wasn't like hit records. These were things that he put together.
Are these like minute tracks?
They're loops. And let's see. Low and slow, 100 BPM, 3 minutes, 16 seconds.
Okay.
900 beats, 110 BPM, 2 minutes, 46 seconds. I mean, looks like a lot of this stuff is between 250 and 320 on here.
Wow.
And then he's got little scratch things too. Now there he is on the back. This is the picture of the guy.
Yeah, he did not look like what he does.
Yeah,
he looked like a coke dealer in the 80s. I'm sorry.
Yeah, with the gold chain.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Miami Vice was calling him going, "You're sure you're not a dealer?" "No, I'm not. I'm a DJ."
Yep, this was what white guys look like before Vanilla Ice, pretty much.
Yes.
And these are mixes. These are fun. I mean, there's a lot of different kinds of stuff on here. Several tracks. These are like the wah samples and the pump it up and all that stuff. I have a whole bunch of these too. Like a lot of these, he issued several. But yeah, that was just his tools for DJs. That doesn't count the songs that he actually, remixed and produced that were, club hits. This was just stuff that DJs had to do what they, the performances and things.
Yeah.
So I just thought I'd share that.
That's awesome.
He was a DJ's DJ,
But see, again, this is something that back in the day, you would have had to make conscious decisions about, do I skip lunch and get 2 of these loop discs?
Yeah.
Or do I need the newest Lisa and the Cult Jam single? Or should I drop a funky beat? Oh, I know. Like, I think it's it's the technology, but let's be blunt. It's the investment. It's the friggin' investment. I mean, to be a DJ back in the day was expensive. Even when I started in the 90s, my music was all acquired by me buying it. I had like hundreds and hundreds of CDs. I had to go buy them. I had to find them. I had to buy them. I had to ask questions. Now you look at that and go, "Oh, poor Jay. Look, Brian's got 12,000 pieces of vinyl." Yeah, that's an investment. They're both investments. Now, I mean, I look at Craigslist and I see people going like, oh, I'm selling a 400 gig hard drive with music on it. I'm like, wait, what? Like, or I'm joining a pool and I can get unlimited downloads for $20 a month. Forget the artist getting paid or anything, but the only benefit of it is this. If you don't know what to download, you don't know what to download.
Yeah.
I can give you all the ingredients and all the spices and the exact same stuff that the master chef next to you has, and I'll give you the exact same recipe. Do you really believe your version will taste the same as his? Because it won't. I can give you Brian S. Red's entire music collection and send you off to a gig. If you don't know what to play or why, it doesn't matter
lost.
if you have
You're
it.
lost.
Speaking of the latest Lisa and Cult Jam single, I'll leave you with this. And it was just something that happened to me recently that I thought was funny. And it was
To do with Lisa?
funny and cool all at the same time. Just what a small world we live in, So when I was at Welcome to Rockville, and I was, doing the set in the Swisher booth.
Yep.
A guy came up to me, an older cat, with really long blonde hair, and he told me that he did the CC DeVille tribute thing, and he gave me a flyer. It was a really nice guy, and he got up on the stage and he sang on Skinny Bop. It's a vague memory. It was a long weekend, but I remember it happening. So I get this friend request, and I look at the thumbnail, and I'm thinking, is that dude? And I'm looking at his name. I'm like, I don't remember his name, being Bob, but maybe it was Bob. I don't know. And I Googled this guy, and this guy friend requested me, mind you. It's Bob Rosenberg from Will to Power.
Wow.
He looks like CC DeVille.
That's why
muscles.
I was confused, but the muscles didn't make sense because this guy didn't have those muscles.
Yeah.
Do you remember Will? Do you remember Will to Power, Jay?
Oh yeah, I remember Will to Power.
Yeah, Say It's Gonna Rain, Dreamin'.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was kind of like that's pretty.
So he's
cool
gone from that to being a Poison tribute band. Good for him.
No, it's not the same guy. I just thought it was that guy because I just met him.
Oh.
I'm like, boy, I didn't remember his arms being big like that. And then I looked and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what. Oh, okay. Never.
Oh, so they're not the same guy.
No.
Okay.
It was him and his wife who were Will to Power. They still are Will to Power, but not.
But he wants to be your friend now.
He is my friend now, but I didn't know who it was. I'm looking like, who is this guy? And I let it sit for a while because I went, I don't know. But yeah, that's who it is, and it was pretty cool because I'm a fan.
Yeah. Will to Power was awesome.
I love Will to Power, so it was nice that he was flattered. Wow, this guy was reaching out to me. That's so cool. Small world stuff. I just thought it was neat. And
this is true.
I had the same thing happen with Herb Pump Powers, where I don't know if you knew who Herbie Powers is or Herb Jr. is, but he was the guy who he worked for a mastering company.
Oh, was he the one company that did all the mastering and pressing?
He was the big one. The
big one, yeah.
The one in the same building as Studio 54 and
yes. I do know that name. Yeah.
I
know of him.
He cut, Shannon's Let the Music Play. He cut all the Africa Mabata stuff. And
yeah.
I mean,
during the day, like huge
Information Society. Everybody wanted him to cut the records because he was able to somehow he got more bass out of records than anybody else could when he would master them.
Yeah.
Guy Facebook friended me. I mean, it's such a cool small world like that.
That's awesome.
It's not like we're I mean, it's rock and roll, but it's like guitar players,
Yeah, but still. No, I mean, but if they see what you're doing and they're trying to friend you.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's
That's
so
awesome.
cool.
Yeah.
I'm
friends with a couple of young ladies now from Russia. Today. I don't really know what they do.
They're guys, dude.
What's that? I thought she had a thick mustache.
Well, if she doesn't have a thick mustache now, she will in about 3 years because Russians have no shelf life when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Oh.
It just is what it is.
I came up with an alternate title for the video.
Yeah.
Music Discovery. Has a nicer ring. to it.
Yes.
Well, boys,
I've
shall we
discovered
check
a
out some
lot.
Cameron Paul?
Sure, let's do that.
Yeah, well,
Let's do it. So
we'll have to end it first.
Okay.
with that, we need to bid you all goodbye. Thank you so much for watching.
Thanks,
And
everybody.
yeah, I like your idea, Jay. Let's try to introduce somebody new every week. That
Yeah, every week.
you might not know about.
Yeah.
I like. Yeah.
Even if it's people that like, are big, it doesn't have to be too deep diving, but maybe something that someone could hear or name, or just something where they could spend 5-10 minutes and be like, you know what, I do like this. Let me look a little deeper, and then find their own little way of almost a crate dig, almost a
Sure.
do what we used to do, where someone would say, do you know who so-and-so is?
Just
No,
for
I
fun.
don't. You should go check them out. And you had to make the effort to go look.
And we won't always do somebody who's was
Just
something
house.
40 years ago.
Right.
We'll do new stuff. We'll do all kinds of stuff. Just stuff we think is cool.
Sure.
Maybe you might
Yeah.
like. So anyway,
All right.
thank you so much for tuning in. Jay,
Peace.
Howie, thank you. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Good night, all.